despite what their moms told them. They just aren't talented enough for radio. Unfortunately, anyone can have a show these days. Sean.
Well, I'm pretty hard to figure out sometimes. In fact, I can't even figure myself out sometimes, so don't you try to.
Joe.
You're an idiot. And really a disloyal person.
This is the Cuse Militia. Now, those two unapologetically biased orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
It's the most bullshit thing I've seen in 30 years.
Welcome, orange men and ladies. Happy Sunday. This is the Cuse Militia with Sean and Joe. At Cuse Militia on the socials. Go there, join the militia. Look, an eventful day, evening. Emotions and tempers run high in the Syracuse basketball and football double feature last night. Orange basketball falls to 3-3 on the year after losing 73-72 to Bryant in the Dome. It's insufferable as hell, you ask me. And Syracuse football goes on the road, finally coming to life in the fourth quarter to pull off a Northeast rivalry win over Boston College, 32-23. They finish 7-5 on the year, and they'll play one more game. You'll hear from us, and we'll hear from you in fan feedback live on the Spotify Live app and on Facebook for those segments. And one of us predicted a 7-5 finish for the Orange. Now, I might not have all the games right, but that was me. You and Tyler go 2 years in a row, 6-6. Just very vanilla.
Hey, look,
very
overall,
vanilla.
Vanilla compared to not a lot of people thought even 6-6. So I would like to think that
the experts,
all of us had pretty good.
The experts, yeah.
I mean, we probably looked at it as, the orange-blooded homers, right? Like you said, like right in the introduction.
Yeah.
When we did that, there's probably a lot of people who didn't believe that. So.
I would tend to agree with that. I did have 5-7 last year and 7-5 this year, though. I'm just saying.
No, I mean, hey, look, you've been pretty good last couple of years,
Thank you, Joe. That's all I wanted. I just wanted approval. That's it.
I mean,
is it too much to ask?
You got it right. What, two years in a row?
2 years in a row.
I guessed 6-6 2 years in a row, right? So
you both did. You and Tyler both did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, that's not, and I guess like, what I was speaking to or alluding to, when we were talking with Tyler yesterday is, it just seems like next year we're going to have to ask these questions different, right? Because obviously people's expectations change and everything like that. So I guess just coming off and saying, he's got to get 6 wins, got to get a bowl game. I guess how he does it
is very important as of late.
Because, so maybe we just have to ask, next time. Which no one would believe us anyway, right? But
right.
Hey,
well, I agree with Noah from last week in the fact that if Syracuse goes out and it was trending that way, Syracuse goes out against Boston College and doesn't pull off that win, I'm upset about any type of 6-6 bowl game. I mean, I just felt like they needed to go out there and end the slump, and they did. So it doesn't matter. So we didn't even need to talk about it.
Right. So hey, look, and it's not. You can't say that it was for an easy schedule either. We knew that it was going to be a gauntlet, and I think some people thought earlier in the year that our early, schedule was bad. But I'm telling you right now, out of the 11 teams. 11 Division I teams, not counting Wagner, that we played against, 9 of them are going to bowl games. So the only games that we played, or teams that we played that aren't going to a bowl,
and Wagner,
Boston College and Virginia.
In Virginia, yeah.
Yeah. So even UConn got the 6 wins, and Purdue, hey, look, they're 8-4, and they're actually playing Michigan in the Big Ten championship next week. So there's that too.
Yeah, I don't think there's a ton of criticism to be had. I mean, I feel like anything I'm going to open my ears to, it's got to be more original than what we've just firebabers.
Yeah,
it's got to be more original than that. After what we talked about last week and the points we made a couple years ago that coach brought up again in the presser heading into the Boston College game. After that, I feel a little bit justified in some of the things I know that I said then. And I'm sure you feel justified as well, hearing it come from coach's mouth. After that, you gotta come at me with something better than just fire Babers. That's not working for me anymore.
Nope.
So, with that said, we can dwell on that a little bit later. But Syracuse lost a tough one in the Dome last night, and it was that Jared Grasso. Look, man, the dude just rubs me the wrong way. I'm very biased towards it. It's probably unfair, maybe to a certain extent. I just don't like the guy. I don't like the way he looks. I don't like the way he greases his hair back. I don't like his mannerisms. I don't like anything about the guy. I just don't. And I don't care. And so I say things that are probably a little bit, maybe over the top, because the dude rubs me the wrong way. So with that said, let's take a listen to what Coach had to say after the game.
Benny was sick before the game. He wanted to try it. He did. He wanted to try it in the second half, but he was sick, couldn't play. His stomach was upset. I thought the two freshmen, Justin and Chris, really tried to get us back in the game. Jesse, again, is the first couple of plays, the first couple of fouls that he gets that takes him out of the game. If he's in the game at the end, he blocks that shot. He's just got to be better at that. But we did a great job defensively over those last 10 or 15 minutes to get stops. I thought John Bull did a great job. He's a good passer. He plays in that middle against our defense every day. I thought he did a really good job in there. He understands the game. He screens. He got people open. I thought he was really good. Joe's been struggling. No explanation for it. We obviously need him to go to play better. But the freshmen were really good. Jesse was good inside. Obviously, Judah got pushed and he swung. You can't do that. You have to learn. It's a hard way to learn, but that's the way it is. You just can't do that, react in that situations. There was a lot of pushing and holding early. They weren't calling it, and you have to be able to play your way through that. That happens. Questions?
What did the referees tell you after the whole melee with the ejections?
And two guys swung and they're out.
What about the coaches and the Bryant players?
It's against the rules for assistant coaches to go onto the court. They were trying to help and separate guys. But it's a rule, which is a bad rule, that they can't go. I can go, but they can't. It's a terrible rule.
Coach, 14 points from Chris Bell, but just one rebound. How important is it for him?
Well, I've talked to him about this. He's played about 90 minutes and has one rebound. Nobody like that has ever played here, and nobody like that should play here.
So you and Coach Grasso had an exchange after the game.
Yeah, his players didn't come and shake hands. They ran off the court, two or three of them. I don't know why you would do that. We lost. We shook hands. That's what you do, win or lose. That's what you do.
So that's what you said you looked at. What was his reaction?
Pardon?
What was his reaction?
He gave me a sarcastic apology, which fits him. It really wasn't an apology. That's why I didn't really accept it. He said he apologized. It wasn't that kind of apology. We'll see.
All right. All right, we will get into all of that, and we'll start at the top here. Joe, Benny, sick before the game. Early foul trouble for Jesse, though, obviously never sets a good pace for Syracuse. Hima's out right now. Don't know. Coach alluded to the fact that he doesn't know when he's going to be back. And he says he's hurting, and I guess when he's feeling better, he'll be back. So Not great as far as all of that goes. But we know how Jesse tends to get into some of these issues. And, I have to say, we needed him at the end of the game, where they survived as long as they could without him at the beginning. We needed him at the end. He came to life in the battle at the end of that game, man. It was all Jesse Edwards. There is no look. Ifs and buts are candy and nuts. We all have a Merry Christmas. Close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. It doesn't matter. But if he's in that game, I think I have a hard time believing that we don't win, and I believe that was the difference at the end of that game, because Jesse Edwards was catching fire and he could not be stopped. The fourth foul on Jesse Edwards was an atrocious call. It was an over-the-back call, and he was literally falling back away from the two guys in front of him to grab a rebound. They call it over the back. It's a terrible call. I didn't get an eye on everything. I was traveling and watching it on my phone, not driving, traveling, and watching it on my phone. So I didn't see all the fouls, but I saw the last two that I remember. I think the last call was a fair call. Foul number 4, not fair. I heard others weren't as good either. So again, you don't put yourself in that position, and you don't have to worry about it early, right? If you don't put yourself in that position early, you don't have to worry about it. But coach let him play with 4 until he's basically like, look, we're just going to play him till he falls out. And John Bull did a decent job. I feel like his minutes were valuable coming up for him and Jesse when needed. So I assume you got to sit down and watch the game uninterrupted. I don't know what your thoughts were on any of that, but obviously Jesse got to clean some of that stuff up.
Yeah, I mean, he still got 31 minutes. It just hurt us a little bit, obviously when he fouled out later, but then when he came out and we had to have Peter Carey come in because Hema was hurt. I think that defensively we don't see that much of a drop-off when you see Hema go in there for Edwards, so I think that he would have been nice to have. I think that Benny would have been nice to have, but then again, this is also a game where I think, Chris Bell and especially Taylor, I think, needed it. Taylor especially, because he keeps alluding to Chris Bell and his. We'll get there. Not okay, but either way, just having those guys like Benny sick and Hema, and then losing Judah, it would have been different or difficult. I would have liked to have seen what would have happened, because sometimes when you look at the foreshadow or like the end of the game in hindsight, right? If Judah would have, if he wouldn't have got tossed. If he wouldn't have got tossed, then who knows if we see the game Justin Taylor or whoever has, because, I don't think that he takes Joe out, right? So, as far as Jesse goes, yeah, he was definitely a force when he just starts so slow, and then he gets a couple of those fouls, and I'm a firm believer that he probably would have sat the whole first half if Hema was healthy, but just Carey couldn't do anything in there, so that's why you bring Boljack in, and like you said, he held the line pretty good with. He did the Benny best he could,
but not wasn't great.
So having Hema and Benny out, and then you get Edwards in foul trouble right there. That's starts disaster right from the very beginning.
Edwards just with a fantastic game, 12 points and 21 rebounds, 11 points in 10 rebounds, a double-double in itself, came in the second half. So and he followed out with 3:21 left, so who knows what he could have done. And unfortunately, it's just we'll never know, because it's not going to be something we see.
Yeah.
So defensively, Syracuse did a great job towards the end. I think obviously they still have a ton of room to grow here. A lot of missed shots by Bryant. They were doing a great job of getting stops though, and it was a struggle to watch both ends of the floor sometimes. But that's that defense along with Jesse Edwards' help there is what got him back in that game. Joe, what do you think about Joe? The dude has been struggling, and I part of me thinks that despite the fact that Judah was ejected from the game, I think that you bring in Samir Torrance and it doesn't get any worse. I mean, on the offensive end, I feel like Torrance could have done something a little bit more than what Joe was doing. I mean, 5 points. I mean, he's got to play better. He's got to score. He had a terrible turnover towards the end of the game when he got trapped, and Matthew on Facebook pointed out it'd be a great time to use the timeout there. But just a terrible turnover for a fast break, 2 points. And, at what point do you say, okay, well, let's take him out. We got Justin Taylor's going off. Samir Torrance can change. We've seen him change the pace of a game. Yeah, maybe he's not playing as good as we were used to seeing last year at this point in the season, but I don't see how you leave Joe in there that long. I mean, are you waiting that long for him to get going? Because
I think it's because of the lack of people we didn't have. Again, if Judah's there and if Benny's, he's good to go, and some of these guys like, Taylor and Bell are hitting shots, then I think there's going to be a point where, when he's shooting 1 of 8 from the three-point line, that Boeheim is going to take him out. So I think it was just all about. We had to put together what we had to put together, missing those 3 guys, and still putting together rotations and a game plan to get back in this game and possibly have a chance to win it. I thought was great coaching, and it was great guts by the players, and a lot of young players that really haven't shown what they were capable of yet this year.
Yeah, Gerard, he's combined to score just 9 points in 2 for 22 from the floor, 1 for 12 from behind the arc in the last 2 games.
Well, plus when Judah got tossed, he was asked to do some point guard duties.
Yeah,
too.
I understand that, but that's why you bring. I mean, that's why you can bring in Samir for that a little bit.
They did, but there were certain things where Samir was messing up a little bit too. So.
Well, I mean, 6 in one, half a dozen in the other, man.
I know.
Is the way I see it. I don't know. There was enough rotations tried yesterday to where I'm not sure how much of a difference it would have made. And, I'm just being honest. I'm not someone who bags on Joe all the time, but the past 2 games, you score 31, career high, and then you come out and you've got 9 points combined in the last 2. I mean, and your shooting's just god-awful. So, I mean, I don't know. As a senior, I expect more at this point, and we're still dealing with some of the issues that I feel Joe had in his freshman year. So,
well, I think that we're still young, and not being able to have everybody in the rotation and still try to figure out roles and stuff like that. And then you get Judah that gets kicked out, and you don't have Benny, so you have all these freshmen that are around you, and you have Jesse Edwards in foul trouble, and you're doing what you have to do down low to keep him. I mean, they had their best defender, like basically shadowing Gerard, not letting him get a good shot. And, that's why all the other stuff was working. And I think that's the direction that Joe's got to go. Otherwise, he's going to end up getting benched. I think the direction he needs to go is let's get these other guys shots, get these other guys points because they're in a better position because of how tough they're playing D on me. And then once more people around him start scoring, then that's going to open up him to be able to get his open shots. But he's just too up and down right now, and we're lacking leadership. We have a very young team, and I think that there's just a lot of people that were expecting him to be the guy to come in, be the leader, and, be able to put up, 16 points a game on average, like that's his floor, and come in and be that consistent just score for the team. And the last 2 games, he's kind of fallen short on that.
Yeah,
and we've still been in the games. We went to overtime, and then we had this game where they hit a shot at the end.
Yeah, the St. By the way, we didn't talk about the St. John's game. Not going to get into too much of it, other than the fact that that's an old Big East rival. That's what Joe and I grew up with as kids, and
it's a great game.
It was a good game. It had the rivalry feel to it. Those are the ones, as far as non-conference goes. Those are the ones you want to win. The St. John's and Bryant. Just because they're insufferable. They're players, talented players, man. With Charlie Pride and just a talented squad. I mean, you can't take that away from them.
It's the same thing as Colgate. They played just as smart against the 2-3 zone, except for these guys were more athletic.
They're a little bit more athletic. They're fast and they're aggressive.
Yeah, and you look at a team like where you said like Charlie Pride. He's been there for 4 years. He's from Syracuse. So every time every time he wants to show out against Syracuse, you know. And then you have Antoine Walker, who's a transfer from Rhode Island, started off originally getting recruited from Georgetown out of high school. So this guy's 4 or 5 years in, playing in the A-10. Doug Eddert, the guy he didn't play that much, but he's a transfer from St. Peter's who had
he
that
killed
run
it at
last
St.
year.
Peter's last year.
Yeah, in the tournament, right?
Yeah, in the tournament.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, Earl Timberlake, he started off. He's been right out of high school, Miami, then Memphis, and now transferred to here. Gross Bullock, he's played 3 straight years at over 20 minutes a game at LaSalle, which is an A-10 school. So all these guys, they're coming from higher up, competition, and they were getting minutes there. So Bryant, they finished the year last year 20-3. They ran through their conference tournament, and they played in the playing game as a 16 seed against Wright State. So this coach has got them going in the right direction, as much as I'm not a huge fan of him either. And I know that we had a 1-point game 2 years ago against them, the COVID year.
Yeah, there's more controversy there too. He's just a loudmouth punk, man.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is, and that's fine. And there was an issue where Boeheim had an issue because they had players run off without shaking the hands, right? So he thought it was disrespectful. It wasn't sportsmanlike, and with everything that had happened during the game, to act like that. I don't know.
I think it's
classy.
It's not classy. He's not a classy guy, and with that said, I couldn't hear what was going on, but you can watch the ending of the game and see that there's obviously a back and forth. And look, it's disrespectful. At the end of the day, it's just disrespectful. It just makes it worse because for me, I just can't stand that guy. At least you could have some class. You won the game, like Coach said. Like, okay, all right. There's some Boeheim haters who are out there saying things, like, oh, well, whatever, this stems from, a couple years ago when Coach said they shouldn't even play the game. And okay, all right, whatever. But that is 2 years ago. We're talking about today. Okay, so let's talk about it.
Well, and then Grasso, he complained that year because he's like, well, how about you give us some credit? We're a good team, da-da-da-da-da. So he kind of made it look like Boeheim was just trying to poo-poo him and his team. And so, that's just how he is. He was out there. He was chirping with the fans.
Yeah.
He has this sarcastic, just over-the-top reactions and everything. Yeah. You can just tell what type of – he's passionate about his team and obviously them winning and everything. Right. But it comes off as super, super
when you get down in the mud with opposing fans, it just you show no self-restraint, which is Doug Eddert's problem. These guys didn't show much restraint on that end either. Look, the game was well, here's the thing. I get it.
I didn't care.
I didn't care because our guy started it. Yeah, when he turned around. When he turned. Hold on a second. There's a lot of pushing and shoving going on. Okay, there was some questionable charge block non-calls going on.
That's true.
In that game. Okay, Judah Mintz gets called for the charge. Okay, he's frustrated. He's trying to get up. You could see the legs. You can see legs coming up and moving to try to inhibit him to get up or maybe even trip him, okay? At the very least, trying to inhibit him getting up, all right? He's shoved by Eddert, okay? What Judah Mintz is totally unacceptable, and he needs to obviously have a cooler head than that. Okay. Yeah, he's got to have a cooler head than that. And I'm not excusing him not one bit. He could have gotten up, expressed concerns, and Coach would talk to the refs. That's going to happen eventually, I feel like, anyway. But tempers boiled over. He slaps him, totally uncalled for, totally disrespectful. And then he gets freaking roundhoused, open hand slap from behind. I'm not saying, and then that's not even the worst part. John Bull says, "Look, you want to play fuck? Let's play fuck." And he starts going after Eddert. And he runs like a little bitch. He runs away, okay? Which is hilarious to me, okay? At the end of the day, both those guys got to go. I don't have a problem really with what he did, but I feel like, look, if you want to be the better man, Eddert could still been in the game, and Judah Mintz could have been gone easily if he doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Okay? So have some self-control, and that goes for everybody. It was a bad look for Syracuse, I feel like, just as a day yesterday. Okay, so it started with that. Now, okay, you don't have a problem with it. Now, I don't really have a problem with it. I just think it's a bitch move when someone's turned around walking away.
I thought the running away part was. You know what I mean?
Well, that too. That was the icing on the cake.
I mean, obviously, the thing with Judah Mintz was that he tried to get away with it, be slick with it, almost like the other year with Buddy, right, where he punched dude in the stomach, like, he pushed him.
That was way worse than what Buddy did.
Yeah, but
in the face
either
like
way,
that.
You
don't touch another man's face like that.
I know you don't, and that's why Eder acted the way he did. But Judah knew that he was wrong. He was trying to be slick with it and not get caught.
Right.
So by doing that, he nonchalantly walked away. And by his reaction, I feel like he even knew it was coming, because he knows that you don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he had it coming. I mean, he had it coming. He did.
He walked away. He tried to be sly with it, tried to get away with it.
But is it necessary? Is that necessary?
Is any of it necessary?
Well,
Absolutely not.
No, it's not. But is the reaction to the reaction after what's going on the ground?
Yeah. Well, and that's the problem.
It's a snowball effect.
With
okay?
Stuff like that too.
That's the problem with refs not controlling a game. That's the problem. That's the whole point of this. The refs weren't controlling the game, and they weren't doing their damn job. There was terrible officiating. Just besides the fact of letting physical play like that through, the officiating was not. It was not fair. When you look at it, wasn't consistent in who was doing what, and that confuses players, it confuses fans, and then the tempers boil over like that, and that's what you're left with, a melee like that, and that's partly
and then they
on
have
the
to
refs,
clean it up,
a lot of it. Then they got to clean it up. It took 15 minutes to clean it up.
Well, and then once play resumes, then it gets to a point
now
where
you tighten the whistles up.
Now you have to tighten the whistles up. Now you're changing the way the whole game's played.
Exactly. The entire flow of the game's off. Now everybody's wondering how they should play, what they should do. The officiating is a huge part of why all of that happened, and shame on them too. The end, the not shaking the hands thing, whatever. We kind of talked about it, but it's kind of disrespectful. I'm not going to get much more into that. I think the bulk of this was the fight, and obviously the two guys that swung, they had to go. The assistant coach rule, that's stupid. That's a dumb rule.
That's a stupid rule. Yeah,
it doesn't even make any sense.
I get it for the players. Bryant lost two other players because they were on the bench and they got off the bench. You can't do that as a player. And I'd say the one thing with us is kudos for Syracuse and their players and having restraint to not go out on the court, because as a player, as a teammate, if something starts going on like that, you see your player get smacked like that, like your first reaction is go out there and have his back. And I think that our coaches definitely handled it a lot better. And but maybe that's because our assistant coaches got out there and made sure it didn't happen, right? So again, stupid rule, because assistant coaches can do nothing but stop their own players from getting out there and making it worse. And instead, you have the player rule. So player rule straight, assistant coach is dumb.
Yes, and I was a big fan of Eder last year in the tournament for St. Peter's, and talented kid. All right, there was also a football game last night. Let's hear what Coach Babers had to say after that game.
Just really excited about the effort. Obviously, Coach Halfley, Jeff. I mean, that was a good game between two Northeast rivals, and obviously physical, obviously intense, obviously all the stuff that the fans come to see between a rival game. Some good things, some bad things out there, but really excited about how my guys finished. How they fought to the very end. They didn't do everything right, and they weren't always doing the smart things. But overall, the effort was fabulous. I want to go back and I want to give thanks, give the glory where it's due, definitely to the man upstairs, but really proud of the coaches, really proud of the players after those 5 weeks, to be able to come back with a win like this versus a good Boston College team that, 2 weeks ago beat NC State, the same NC State that beat North Carolina, the same North Carolina that's playing in the ACC championship game versus Clemson, just to go show you once again how tough this league is and how precious just winning a football game can be.
Should be moments throughout the game. I'm just wondering how much you chalk that up to the rivalry and how far over the line maybe things went for you as a coach.
When you say over the line, there were some things that were just rivalry type things that the players have to understand that this game is different. You know, an ankle's going to get twisted and it's going to get stepped on. There's going to be some things that they need to be able to overcome as young men. And I'm not saying that there was just stuff out there. If you've been in a rivalry game before, you know, there's certain things that are going to happen, and we need to do a better job of adjusting to them.
With Enrique Cruz's situation, was there something that prompted that? Because obviously we couldn't see that.
Sure there was. Absolutely. There was something.
What that was?
I don't want to do that to the rivalry game, but you guys, you can figure it out. But he still shouldn't have reacted. He shouldn't have reacted to it.
Coach, what allowed your offense to explode down the stretch after, you know, just kind of such a slow start in those first three quarters? What do you think changed in that last 15?
We changed some things that we were doing at halftime. We adjusted some things very quickly, and we just decided that we're going to go after, play this game a different way in a different style. And based off of who we were playing in the situation, it was very effective for us.
Coach, Gadsden, Alford, and Cooper are all topping 80 receiving yards today. What was it like for you to see the diversity in the targets that Trader was throwing to today?
He was moving the ball around, there's no doubt. And then when you add in, you know, Tucker getting 100-something, it makes the offense different. Now we've got to be able to start faster than what we've started. There's no doubt about it. But, you know, you got to take your hat off. Boston College was doing some things that was really impressive in the first half. And but eventually, you know, the defense with their speed and our defense against their offense with our speed caught up to them. But you're seeing two teams, one that's going bowling and one that's not, but just major carnage, major injuries on both sides. And it'll be a different game next year when everybody comes back a lot healthier. But, you know, I hope you guys enjoyed it because it was a physical contest.
All right, yeah, physical contest indeed. It was an entertaining game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the important thing is that Syracuse stops the bleeding in the losing column after 5 skids. They I would say, you know, with what they showed at Wake Forest and then what they did at Boston College, both games down the road. The Wake Forest game looked like it was a winnable game for a while. And then this game looked like it was a losing game for a while. You got different outcomes of how they kind of started those two games, almost the antithesis of one another as far as how they started in the first against Wake Forest and the first against Boston College, and then reversed that in the second half of things. And, you know, started really ugly with the strip sack and then the block punt. Boston College is up 10-0 really quick. And I think it was only 3 minutes or something like that into the game. And you're thinking, man, this is going to be freaking brutal. There are some insufferable fan bases. Pitt comes to mind. Boston College is in there. And, you know, this is old Big East rivalry stuff. This stuff carries through, again, like we were talking about with St. John's, Joe. This stuff carries through our childhood growing up watching, especially on the football end of things with Boston College. And it is always fun to watch. And we can get into all the controversy here in a little bit. But the adjustments that were made at halftime, after things not looking really good, it did take a long time to get going. They went into the fourth quarter. I think, it's just a couple minutes into the fourth quarter. It was like 17-6. They hadn't scored a touchdown yet. There was, I think he'd been sacked already 7 times or something like that. He was sacked 4 times in the first quarter, and it just looked bad. And like you said, though,
they scored. I think there was like 13 and a half minutes left in the fourth quarter. They scored their touchdown to go up 17-16 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, yep. So, but at that point, I'm thinking, well, this sucks. And I'm starting to think, man, Bryant, and now this is going to be a terrible, terrible night. And I will say that the win against Boston College for me made up for the Bryant game. Okay,
absolutely.
I just feel like what an amazing effort. The guys never quit. Schrader just getting pounded and just coming out and taking the snap and putting up 26 points in the fourth quarter for Syracuse. Once they got the motor running, man, they just couldn't be stopped. They had a garbage time touchdown for Boston College. But, I mean, just what can you say about the resilience of this team? And I know it's Boston College, 3-9, but, you know, in a rivalry game, I remember a couple years ago, Boston College, before COVID, came into the Dome and just spanked us like 52 to something. I don't even remember. It was a beatdown, right? Now we play in Boston, and next year we're gonna go back to the Dome. I mean, this is something that we get to experience every year, and I love them when they're close like this, when you win, right? But just what you could say, Joe, about coming back and scoring 26 points in the fourth quarter. I mean, just waking everybody up. I mean, I was just beside myself, and then the 26 points come, and I'm beside myself again, but in a different way. Just amazing.
Well, I mean, and it's the first half it was crazy because you look at the beginning of the game, and you know normally something like that happens, and you're going to be down 10, 14, 17, nothing, you know, easily.
Yeah, for it to be 10-0 was a win.
Absolutely, considering what had happened.
Right.
And then, you know, you go through and like I was telling you, you know, it seemed like they were having a tough time driving, you know, Boston College and us, you know, so it just looked really, really slow going 10-3. And when it was 10-3 at halftime, didn't really know what to expect. Like you said, just hoping for better adjustments and stuff like that. And
real quick, how long has it been since we've seen adjustments that were visible make a difference? You know what I mean? Like
that big of a difference.
Yeah, it's been quite some time.
Yeah, but I think that there was a lot of mistakes too when you
there's a ton of penalties. There was a touchdown that was called back for a holding penalty, right?
Yeah. Yes, and that was in the first half, and I think overall 14 penalties for 91 yards. So realistically, when I take away, and I was optimistic at halftime because when you take away the first, you know, fumble, they got the field goal, and then the block punt where they got the touchdown. You know, we were pretty much, I thought we were playing better than them. And, you know, we don't get that touchdown. We miss a field goal, then we get a field goal. So I didn't really think it was as bad as what it really looked like. And then when you come out of the second or out of halftime, the only reason that I was worried, because you look at it, they came out and they took 6 minutes, 17 seconds off the clock on an 11-play, 31-yard drive. And we get the ball, they punt, we get the ball back, and we actually go 12 plays, 83 yards in 7 minutes just to get a field goal. So then it was when it was 10-6, and at that point you're saying that was 13 minutes, 13-20. So you're talking about there was only less than 2 minutes left in the third quarter, and after each team had one drive, and it was like, wow, are we even going to be able to get a touchdown? This game is flying. Are we going to get the ball back? And you know, we're going to get one or two more chances at this. I was thinking we're going to have to score a touchdown, and we're going to have to stop them. And then they scored that touchdown, and I was like you said, we were already in the fourth quarter. And we're down. I mean, we got to get a touchdown, 2-point conversion, field goal. I was thinking.
And then we missed two 2-point conversions, end up going up 18-17, right? So, and then there was some.
That's really what it was.
In hindsight, yeah, you look back on it and you're like, well, thank God it worked out. But if you just kick the extra points, you're up by a field goal after that. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. But it just happened so fast, right? Because they scored that touchdown, and then we just went.
It did happen fast.
Eight plays, 81 yards for 3 minutes, and so you're like, okay, we got time. Still,
there was
minutes.
A 58-yarder right in there.
Well, then we stopped them. 5 plays, 5 yards, and only 2 minutes. We get the ball back, and then we scored. It was a 58-yarder, so we had 3 plays, 73 yards in 50 seconds.
Right.
To take the lead.
Right.
And it was like, wow.
Right.
That just happened, right? And then we turn around. And we get the strip fumble, Sparrow.
Sparrow, yeah.
He gets the strips fumble, And then we get the ball back and we score in 6 plays from it, and it was just
Well,
crazy how
they
all
didn't.
of a sudden,
They unfortunately didn't score on that sequence there. That was wasn't there an issue on that? I think penalties stopped that drive, and they went for it on 3rd and 30.
Okay. So
they went for it on 4th down.
I think the Anwan Sparrow was in the first half. I think this was the Caleb Okechekwu one in the second half.
Oh, that was that led to a score. Yes.
Yes, and that's what that fumble was that led to a score after in just 2 minutes 56 seconds.
Yeah, you're right. The Anwar one was in the first half. That one ended in a 4th down turnover on downs.
Because he had a 15-yard penalty off of that.
Yes.
For celebrating, and then we ended up getting a couple holds after that.
That's. I mean, I guess you got to be a little bit smarter than that. But I mean, come on. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
So
I didn't like that call particularly. I mean,
we stop him on 4th down. We get the ball, and then all of a sudden Tucker breaks one out, fitting. We had 3 scoring drives over 70 yards in the second half. 2 in the fourth quarter for touchdowns.
I mean, Garrett Trader 21 for 27 for 285.
Yep, 3 receivers over 80 yards.
Yeah, that was my next point. So let's talk about that. You Gadsden, he's got 6 receptions for 106 yards. Finally got him going and looking like his old self. It probably has a little bit to do with trying to do too much in certain situations in some of these losses as far as Gadsden goes, because he had some drops, but also the fact that Garrett Schrader seems to be a little bit healthier. He took some decent hits during this game, but stood in there strong, and he was delivering some pretty good balls. So Damian Alford with the 58-yarder.
And he dropped one in the end zone. He wish he would have had back.
Yes, he did. And then Devon Cooper. With 80 yards too. So that was the most we've seen that ball get spread around. And you got to look at Tucker with his 125 yards, and he's up over 1,000 now for the regular season. And with this game here, with the long that you mentioned at 29, and you've got you finally got the offense clicking. It clicked late, but when it got going, when the motor was running, man, and that thing warmed up, you couldn't stop it. They could have played that game for another 3 quarters. They just destroyed them. You know what I'm saying? So it's just too bad. You got to look at what Garrett Schrader had talked about in his post-game presser after the Wake game, how disappointed he was in himself for specifically coming out in the second half slow. But, I mean, right out of the gate, again, we get the ball, too. I'm like, great. We're getting the ball. That's great. And then you have the strip sack fumble. And I'm like, geez, man, what a waste. It's gone. You just blew it all. One shot. It's gone. And it's just so frustrating to continue to have to deal with that type of situation. But nonetheless, Garrett Schrader, pretty resilient in that game, but obviously with the help of Tucker being able to get going in the run game. And, Boston College averages 60 yards a game coming into this one, and we held them under 100. We held them at like 90, 89 or 90, something like that. So
under 60?
No, they averaged 60. They're last place in Division I for rushing offense.
Oh, yeah.
And they
had 89 against us.
They had 89 against us.
And they tried to run against us.
They tried, and they were only averaging. I think Tucker averaged like 6 yards a carry, and I think Garwo averaged like 3.3 or something like that. But I was thinking to myself, if we hold them under 100, I'll be happy. Okay, I don't expect 60, but under 100, and that's what we did. And so I guess that's part of it. When you make them throw as thin as we are, I think that's part of it. You just can't get beat in the trenches, and you allow some of your over the top players to. I think it's
also a team that doesn't have an offensive line like the past 5 opponents that we've had.
Well, I'll tell you what,
injuries, and then they lost an injury during the game as well. So
they looked
once we figured it out, they had a tough time rushing, and it was been the first time in a little while. And you think you saw the confidence growing more. The defense actually realized that they could stop that run. Yeah,
I think on a subpar level, on a subpar team, but still, I mean, once you realize you can do
only
it
in the game you're in.
Yeah, that exactly. So, good on all of that. Good on all of that. You got to be happy about that. When we talk about maybe another 4 weeks or so before we get to see action. And right, it's gonna be about 4 weeks, 5 weeks, something like that. We'll have to see, but
Probably somewhere in December, a little bit after Christmas.
Okay, so yeah, we're looking at about 4 weeks.
27, 28,
so
29.
You got to wonder: is Michael going to come back? What's Kalen Ellis look like? Some of these questions that we haven't. Some of these guys that haven't been ruled out for the year. You got to wonder what that looks like. So
and like you said, we didn't have no Derek, no Mikel, but Jihad was back.
Derek McDonald, that's right.
Jihad was back. Mikel or Mike, what Chris Blyce and Bergeron were back.
Yeah.
So it was nice to see those guys back, and hopefully we can get a little bit healthier for this bowl game.
Yeah,
and Schrader looked healthier.
Schrader looked healthier. I think another few weeks is going to do him a lot of good, and I think I'm a lot more positive going into this bowl game than I was 3 weeks ago. Wondering, what are we going to look like? Not only what are we going to look like at Boston College, but what are we going to look like after Boston College? So, with that said, let's talk about some of the things that went on. Now, I'm going to say this right now. It got chippy. It's always going to be chippy. I think it's to some level you have to overcome some of those emotions for the team's sake. Okay.
Yep.
I had said on Twitter that basically something along the lines of the Enrique Cruz swing was boneheaded. Okay. Emily Leaker had a video. I think it came from Q Sports 44 on Twitter. Just trying to give credit here. She took that video and posted it, and that's how I saw it. Of a motion that looked like number 6 spit at Enrique Cruz. Okay?
Definitely did.
That is a low down, nasty, disgusting thing to do. And I don't blame Enrique Cruz for doing that, but he's got to think, okay, I'm going to do this, and I have to know I'm going to be leaving the game, right? So,
see, my thing is that why can't you go back and get that other player in trouble? Why can't you go look at the replay?
I think, well, during the game, that's a good question. During the game, like, you should definitely, like, that guy should have been ejected. There's no doubt about it. They should implement something at least from above. So if you've got officials watching the game from above and they look at the replay and like, hey, man, it looks like he spit on him. Like, that should definitely be looked at. Okay.
Yeah.
I still think it's a little bit of a boneheaded thing to do, because now, and I don't blame him. That's not so. There's two things can be true at the same time. I don't blame him for doing it. I also think it's a boneheaded move. Okay, just the same way I think it was boneheaded of Eder to do what he did. Okay, because he could have stayed in that game. Enrique Cruz could have stayed in the game, even if Enrique Cruz pushes him to the ground or something. Even if it's from behind, I don't think he gets ejected. I mean, maybe
the worst part about this is the person that started it didn't get in trouble at all.
Well, that was my next point. That's how it always goes. It's always the retaliation.
Didn't with Judah.
Well, they went back and looked at that.
Right.
I don't think anybody saw. I didn't see it. I didn't see it until the replay came.
That's true. Me either.
So they went back and looked at that, and that's, to your point, probably something they should do. When tempers flare that high, they should look to see, well, okay, what caused this? Now, what happened?
What do you mean, root cause analysis?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
I mean, at least in situations like that, when someone's throwing punches, you know.
What you should be doing.
No, I know you're being sarcastic, but I just, after watching what I watched in the basketball game and then dealing with this, like, I love the rivalry stuff. Like, I don't think I'm second to none when it comes to I've said it here. I love the chippiness. That's why I loved Eric Devendorf. I loved the trash talking and all that stuff. You got to have a gritty, nasty guy on your team like that that opponents can hate. You know, I love that stuff. With that said, if you're gonna do it, you can't be surprised by the fact that you're getting ejected, okay? Because you know it's coming. All right, and you only hurt your team when you get ejected. All right, and it sucks.
Yeah.
All right, so that's kind of my main thing with that. Now, with the flag, I didn't have a real problem with the flag. Okay, I mean, at the end of the game, I didn't see a huge. It was Adams, I believe, too. By the way, was it not? I can't remember.
I thought it was Cooper.
Was it Cooper? Okay. Either way, I don't have a problem with it. It was snotty, and those fans deserved it. That's how I look at that. Okay, that's not swinging a punch. Okay, coach took the flag, whatever. I think the flag and what happened in the middle of the field were two separate instances, I believe.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Right.
I mean, you go out on Twitter, and there's a whole bunch of stuff, incidents of Boston College's fans being nasty to our fans, spitting on fans, knocking off people's hats. Coach alluded in his press conference to somebody in the crowd yelling stuff to him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, overall, it was pretty, from what I understand, the Boston College fans were pretty classless. And then the player spitting in his face. And then, so, I mean, at the end of the day, in that situation, I mean, in this situation, they got everything that they really deserved. But sometimes it's difficult, too, when I look at it like basketball and football is different to me. I feel like
because you're not hitting the whole time, right? And we don't know what transpired between Six, whoever the hell Six is, and Enrique Cruz too. Like, what happened leading up to that? Like, he didn't just turn around and spit at him for no reason, right?
But my whole thing too is like, at the end of the day, like, you have helmets on, you're sitting here, you're grunting, you're spitting, there's snot, there's blood, there's sweat. It's a very physically intimate game, if you lack a better word. Like, you're just, that type of stuff's happening all games. So to me personally, especially as a, one of those, what do they call them? The big uglies, no offense, Cruz, but down in the, the trenches, there's some nasty stuff that happens down there. And it's it's part of the game. And I mean, I can get it when it's different, when it's on purpose. But I think you need to have this sense of control. And then at the same time, too, what are you doing? You're punching helmets?
Yeah, like I never understood that with NASCAR drivers. NASCAR drivers, someone comes up with their helmet on and they swing at another helmet.
Guys. They do that just
some of them are tough guys. But my point is that many of them are not. But my point is that you're punching a helmet. It's what it's designed for.
And I think that's my thing is in football, you're getting that type of stuff on you on accident anyway. You're gross. You're nasty. You got helmets on.
Yeah, it's nasty. It's gross. Right?
I feel like it's an easier situation to be able to control yourself for your team because you already got all that going on. Now, yeah, basketball, you get sweaty and you're against each other, posting up, trying to get rebounds and stuff. But there's no helmets. Everyone can see your face. And, it's a more, you smack somebody in the face, then that's going to be an issue. I mean, I don't even think you could really even do that. What do you do? Smack somebody in the helmet? There's really not even a smack someone in the face type thing. So as much as spitting in someone's face.
Give them the old, quack, quack.
No, but you know what I mean? As much as spitting in somebody's face is
yuck.
It's disrespectful. And if someone did it to me out in public and I,
it's
not wearing a helmet,
way different context, man.
I know. So, I mean, whether you smack a grown man in the face or whether you spit in a grown man's face, both is pretty much cause for probably getting punched in the face. But with basketball, I feel like it's a little bit different than football. And I'm not doing that trying to just poo-poo one or the other. I'm just saying that Cruz has got to learn to be able to handle that stuff because that's just nasty crap that people in football try to get away with all the time just to push you and instigate you to do something stupid.
Yeah, that's the stuff.
And realistically, all you're going to do is punch a helmet and break your damn hand.
And get ejected from the game.
Mm-hmm.
And you can have a storied rivalry and have those emotions run hot and high and still be able to
can he play in the bowl game?
Stay in the game. Well, will he be out for the first half?
For the first half.
So, I mean, it's things to think about. So, when you talk about, I'm glad he punched him. Well, you know what? At the end of the day, what does it do?
What about Judah?
I mean,
is he going to get suspended for the Big Ten? I mean, we need him against Illinois.
Yeah.
But all intents and purposes.
It's a boneheaded move. I still think that both are boneheaded moves. And I think more so Judah because Judah kind of initiated that. I know he was having a hard time getting up and he was getting teamed up on, but I blame a lot of that on the refs. I think they sucked, but we're not going to relive basketball, but
no.
Yeah, I mean, we can have opinions about it. I'm not going to judge what he did and say it was right or wrong. I just think it was boneheaded. And you got to know when you do it that you're not going to play. That's going to be it for you. You swing, that's going to be it for you.
You know the consequences.
Right, exactly.
Don't
As
let
long
your
as you
emotions
know,
get the best of
right,
you.
and as long as you know the consequences and you know that you're going to get ejected, and when your team needs you, you weren't like destroying this team at the time.
Nope.
You've got to take that into consideration, and that's that. So we move on. Look, do we want to do an Illinois preview super quick? Are you ready for that?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I can be.
All right. Well, so Syracuse sits at 3-3. They're going to go on the road to play the 16th ranked Fighting Illini. Illini. Tuesday.
The Fighting DeVitos.
This is such a stupid name. Illini. It's dumb. The Fighting Illini. Yeah.
Yes.
Those. At Tuesday at 7:30, the all-time series between Syracuse and Illinois sits at 2-1 in favor of the Fighting Illini. And the Syracuse Orange and Illinois have met 3 times starting in 1978. Illinois has won 2 of the 3 games. The 2 teams met in the Elite 8 in the NCAA tournament in 1989, with Illinois beating the Orangemen at the time, Orangemen, 89-86. Lou Henson and Jim Boeheim both coached all 3 meetings between the 2 teams between those times, according to orangehoops.org. Illinois is currently sitting at 5-1, but the only loss on the books right now to the now ranked 5th Cavaliers, UVA Cavaliers, 70-61. But they do have a win over UCLA. I think UCLA at the time was ranked 8th or something, maybe like that. They're currently 19th. Terrence Shannon is their guy, Joe. So let us know. I mean, how much of a pain in the ass is this guy going to be? Because I think he's averaging over 20 points a game. And I think he's also leading in assists or rebounds. What is it? Assists with just about 4. So he's a problem. How big of a problem is he going to be, Joe?
Yeah, he's going to be a real big problem. I think the one thing that the Illini, when I look at their roster, their schedule, they really haven't played anybody other than UCLA and Virginia. And in those games, obviously, like you said, they beat UCLA by 9 and lost to Virginia by 9. 2 good teams. Everywhere else, it's pretty much Monmouth, Lindenwood, Kansas City, Eastern Illinois. So still a little bit early, but this is a team that has been traditionally good the past couple years, and I don't think that this year is going to be any different. I'd say that the only thing is that they're just kind of in the same situation that we are, as far as trying to figure out some of the rotations and things like that. It's they just have a lot of young guys that are there, as far as Dane Danger. He's a forward that gets a lot of minutes. Sky Clark, he's a freshman guard. Coleman Hawkins, 6'10" forward that's been to Illinois. And then they're still trying to figure out, the deal with Jaden Epps is another guard freshman from Norfolk, Virginia. But Terrence Shannon Jr. is a transfer from Texas Tech. This is his first year. And they also got Matthew Mayer, 6'10" forward transfer. And he's like a 4th or a 5th year guy, but he's a transfer from Baylor. So those are their 2 main guys that they're trying to mix in with the roster, because they lost a lot of guys last year on a team that was really, really good. So they're still trying to figure it out. But they got size, they got athleticism, and obviously they've beaten some good teams. And then they got talent. So I think the one thing that we probably have that's probably kind of a good thing for us is, there's good and bad, realistically. So good thing is that there's a mix of young guys and transfers. Bad thing is I don't really know. Well, and they're playing the zone, so they're going to have to figure out the zone, and we don't know how they're going to react to a zone. We know how that goes. Normally, it's a team that's just getting put together. It's tough to figure out, but obviously good teams can figure it out throughout the game. But it looks like they take just a bunch of 3-pointers. They have 167 3-point attempts in 6 games.
And let's see, their average is, hold on, 37%, 38, call it.
So yeah, so
as a team,
obviously,
yeah,
right. So it's tough to look at and see, as far as
well, Terrence Shannon is just about 50%, 16 for 34.
well, yeah, that's the guy, right? And just like when they played Virginia, right? Virginia held them to 61 points, and we know what type of defensive team Virginia is. But they went 9 to 26 against them with the 3-point line. So yeah, I think this is going to be a situation where can we score against them, and what are they going to do with the 3-point line? If they out-rebound us and they're shooting threes and they're getting offensive rebound, then it could be tough.
I mean, look, I don't have like huge expectations as of right now for this team, let alone this game. I feel like it's coming on fast and strong for Syracuse right now. After Illinois, Notre Dame, and then you got Oakland, Georgetown. So, and then a couple more, and you're straight into ACC play, man. I don't know. It'd be a miracle. It's at Illinois. It'd be a miracle. I'm not saying they can't do it. I'm not trying to be a pessimist. I'm just saying, from what I've seen this year, and like Joe said, we don't know what's going to happen with Judah Mintz. If there's other action that's going to be taken for his scuffle with Eddard, and we don't know. So we're just going to have to wait. And, of course, those things are going to be private, and we won't find out until Tuesday night at 7:30.
Yeah. So they were talking about a team that was 23-9 last year, lost in the second round in the NCAA tournament. And when I went and looked at their box score from their tournament last year, the only player that's on their roster that played any type of significant minutes was Coleman Hawkins, 6'10" junior. So, yeah, this is a team that's pretty much gotten put together with freshmen and with transfers. And they got some pretty good transfers, and they got some pretty good freshmen. It might be – granted, it'd be nicer if we had a more easy competition here. But, playing against these guys could help. But also this team is going to be far and away better later in the season than they are today.
Jesse's going to have to be better early. Does Hema play?
Problem is we're still trying to figure it out too. So,
right.
And it's on the road. And like I said, they got guys like their transfers are pretty good.
And
they're
I
pretty
think
good.
Just like with and it's too bad that we couldn't snag some sophisticated transfers. I mean, just it is what it is. But by sophisticated, I mean experienced. So, and just like with if Illinois was coming to the Dome, I feel like it'd be a nice crowd, nice early season crowd. I expect the same.
Oh yeah,
I expect the same for Syracuse going to Illinois. It still is Syracuse after all. The Fire Babers / Boeheim chants all come from the same people, and it's so redundant to me at this point that I don't even know if I'm going to humor the conversation of it. So we can you can leave them in fan feedback, and if you got some meat to put to it, I might humor it. But I'm still not there. I'm still not there.
I'm pretty positive that this game is not going to be like this. Isn't a game that's going to hurt us. I think this is a game playing against this type of talent.
This is a quad 1 game, first of all. Right off the top. It's probably going to stay a quad one game
for the
all
whole
year.
Season.
Right.
And all this really is an opportunity to an early quad 1 win and make up for one of these early losses. I don't think that St. John's loss is going to be a bad loss when you come down to it. And realistically, I think that Colgate and Bryant are going to dominate their leagues. And we'll see them in the NCAA tournament.
Colgate could be a quad 2 loss at the end of the season. I don't know what the hell Bryant's going to do. I hope they implode, honestly. I don't care if that's a bad loss.
All I'm saying is if you go by the last 2 years, the projections of these two teams, Colgate, they started to get better 2 years ago, and last year both of them kind of turned the curve, and they both, Colgate and Bryant, they dominated their leagues like very easily into the tournament, and I don't really see that being a change this year either. So, but yeah, this is an opportunity. It's not going to hurt us, and losing this game will not keep us from the tournament. It's just obviously keeping us in wins from the win column to get us closer. So, and this Big Ten ACC tournament, they kicked our ass last year, and it's looking like they're going to do the same thing again this year. So,
I mean, yeah, the game's still got to be played.
Yep.
But if we were betting men, and I did win $3 on DraftKings on Thanksgiving, so I am a betting man.
Uh-oh.
I'd have to. Yes, Joe. By the way, I'm in DraftKings now. So if you need any advice,
here we go.
Let me know. Okay,
I will.
you come to me for your NASCAR advice, but if you need any more, any other sport, I did win. Okay, on Thanksgiving. So if you need anything, bud, pal, come to me. I'll help you out.
I've won in DraftKings too. I'm pretty sure.
I'm 1-0. I'm undefeated. Okay.
All right.
So, big winnings. All right. It's time to do a real quick, and by real quick, I mean real quick, fan feedback right now.
It's time to hear from you, the loudmouths from the Loud House.
All right, you guys know what to do. At the end of every game, we ask for your thoughts on those games. Read them here on air, and we talk about them. We are live in the Spotify Live app, or on the Spotify Live app, and we're going back to YouTube because Facebook just does not work. Thankfully, it worked streaming the game yesterday, and I'm happy about that because I know there was a bunch of you that couldn't get the game, and I'm happy to do it. And I appreciate the thanks afterwards. I really do. I know you guys appreciate us doing it. So, it's something we are able to do when we can. We will. So, sounds like too that Bryant game wasn't it was the ESPN app, right? So that was the only thing I had it on, I think, in my area. So, unfortunately, I couldn't stream that because I was traveling, but I was home for the football game, and I was happy to be able to do that. So we will do a quick fan feedback, seeing that the front end of this show was extremely long for the two games and the look ahead at Illinois. Let's start with basketball, okay? At one, Kev Nash. The future is now. Bench JG3. Judah and Taylor at the top of the zone adds athleticism and length, which should create more turnovers. Now watch JG3 go for 30 on Tuesday. But that's the biggest issue with JG3. He's a complete roller coaster. Those are my thoughts exactly. As soon as you turn your back on Joe and you trash the guy, he's going to go out there and he's going to drop him. And he's going to go off, right? And it's like, how often do we talk about having this team play, the basketball team in particular, play as a cohesive unit? Like, I feel like that was much of the problem last year. We're looking at kind of the same thing this year. And with Joe scoring 9 points in 2 games, not great. Also, like I said on the front end when we talked about the game, I'm not sure why he was in there. And Joe, I know your thoughts on that, but Judah unfortunately got ejected, so he wasn't going to be at the top of anything except for the top of the shit list. That's about it.
Yeah. So again, it's a situation where you would hope that if Judah was in there and Joe was 1 for 12 or 1 for 8 or whatever, that coach would have taken him out and put somebody else in there, and we never will know because, like you said, Judah got ejected. I just hope that he doesn't have to miss any time going into the Illinois game on Tuesday. But nevertheless, like I said earlier, I was happy with, obviously more than happy with Justin Taylor, Chris Bell, in the shots that he made in the middle of the zone. A couple things, John Ball going in there and doing what he had to do because Benny was sick, and Hema, and I think you have a couple players that are healthy and ready to play that. And, maybe we do a little bit better around the boards and there's better defense around there. But we did the best with what we had, and, we move forward.
Yeah. What?
I was just saying, hopefully it just helps for the future. That's all.
At Amethyst 1225 said, I'm proud of us coming back and being so close to winning despite the problems in the game. Also happy to see John Boljak and several of the other players on the bench get up and try to get the crowd back into the game. Look for the positives. We had a great time, assuming a great time was at the game. Look, they were out of it for most of the game until late. What was the score? It was, I had this written down.
Oh,
it was 61-60 when Jesse Edwards made that layup, and that was their first lead of the game. So the crowd was it sounded great for as many people were there. And you got to look at some of the positives. I know it's unfortunate to have to sit here and be like, well, look at the positives, a lot. Okay. And we've been doing that with football for 5 weeks straight. And also, we're starting pretty early here talking about trying to look for silver linings in basketball games. And that's never a fun thing to do. It's never a fun thing to have to sit here and do. But I think at the end of the day, my expectations for basketball were nowhere close to where my expectations for football were going to be. In fact, I just was so clueless on what to even think about basketball that I didn't give it much thought as far as expectations. So with that said,
how would you?
Right. I mean, how would you? Exactly. That's why I don't have
Joe
them.
And Jesse, and then nothing that, you don't know what's coming up after that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you just have a winning season, if you want, I guess that maybe that was an expectation of mine, but not trending that way. And it's just unfortunate. So, but I always love, some of the, there were a couple people looking at some of the positive stuff. And I think even what Kev Nash, and he put it very bluntly, but he makes a good point that the roller coaster of Joe Girard, he could go out and score 30 in the next game. You never know. That's just how the dude plays. Rick. It's Rick. These handles kill me. JG3 is directly to blame for the last 2 losses. 9 points in 2 games from senior leader is unacceptable. I agree it's unacceptable. But I don't know if he's really to blame for the losses. Now, if he does something, we could have won. Okay, if he plays as good as he did against Richmond, or even half that, we win both of those games. So, but yeah, I'm with him. I'm beating a dead horse here saying it because I've already said it. But 9 points in 2 games it's not going to get it done.
Yeah, and again, he did have to pick up some point guard duties, so. There was that a little bit, but I'm just not going to give him a complete out here. I wish that Judah wouldn't have done what he did, and then we could have seen how that game would have played out, making the adjustments with Judah in there. Because obviously, he's our best player. Jim said it in the presser, and he's a player that we need him to keep his cool to get the best possible out of this team. Now, we had a lot of players still trying to figure out roles and rotations, and we got a lot of players that can make this team, I think, good if they gel and kind of fit into the pieces that we need them to fit into. But to see a team like last night, Jim put in the guys that he's had just to figure it out, and the adjustments he made and everything to come back. Like, there was a point in that game where I didn't think with the players that we were missing that we had a chance to come back. And Jesse and Justin Taylor and even a little bit of Chris Bell willed us back into that.
By the way, we totally skipped over that in the montage, so we're going to talk about it now. We totally skipped over that because I was going to save it for last. So Chris Bell, he has 5 rebounds on the season so far. Okay, you heard Coach talk in the montage. If you're listening on the podcast about how he had 1 rebound in the past 90 minutes or so. Well, he's averaging 0.8 a game. Okay, he's averaging 1 a game. And in the last 96 minutes he's played, he's got 2 rebounds. But he's got 37 points. Coach said no one like that has ever played here, and someone like that shouldn't play here. And, I mean, that's about as harsh as I've ever heard it from Coach.
I think sometimes...
that's pretty harsh, Joe.
Well, he's just so blunt and to the point, straight to the point. But I think, I mean, it's just like anything else. Like, if you don't play defense or rebound, then you usually don't play that much. And I think he's given this guy, because of his shooting ability, all the chances in the world to go in there and prove that he can do these things so that he can stay in the rotation. And, I think because we lost Judah and we needed scoring yesterday, he played as much as he did. Otherwise, I don't think he would have.
Yeah. Well,
now you have Justin Taylor blow up the way that he did.
Justin Taylor doesn't even play against St. John's.
That's my point. And then he comes out and does this, so maybe he's going to take more minutes away from him now. Who knows?
The offense at Joe's mom, 44. Joe, is this your mom?
Could be.
Joe's mom, 44. Is this Joe G's mom or Joe G's mom? The offense and defense seemed a little off the entire game. We definitely win with Judah out there. You got to imagine there's a 1-point loss. You got to imagine. But what does it look like without the contribution from Justin Taylor, as we talked about? 21 points, right? Is that what he ended up at? 21?
20, more than that.
Was it? Hold on, I got it right here.
25?
Yeah. So, what's the difference? What is what I'm saying? Like, where do the extra points come from? That's why we never know. I think we would have won with Jesse out there. How about that? And to Joe's mom's point here, some of the fouls called on Jesse were freaking BS. And I would have to agree. The fourth one I saw with him going backwards for a rebound with 2 guys in front of him was total garbage. Joe should be held responsible for this loss. He played bad. Well, I guess it's not Joe Girard's mom. So, I don't know if I think it's always an accumulation of things. Now, Girard had a pretty ugly turnover towards the end of the game, and that didn't help. It was a breakaway, fast break for 2 points. So, no, we did not mention that, David. That's a great idea. Hakeem Warwick and Jerry McNamara, they are going to have their jerseys retired at the end of the year at the Wake Forest game. So, really cool. Well-deserved. The championship team, right? So, it's going to be close to the 20-year reunion of this game, this championship game, right? Yeah, it would be. So, very fitting. Jerry McNamara and Hakeem Warwick get those jerseys retired. I think that's awesome. So,
absolutely.
And they retire jerseys, not numbers, right? So Judah's not going to change his number per se, correct? Right? Yeah, that's what I remember.
No.
At B Jennings 32, Joe Girard not getting pulled is insane. At S Vend 2014, awful last possession on defense. Yeah, we haven't talked about that. They just let him run the whole court for that floater. Boom, game over. Yep. 0.8 seconds left. Muffed the pass, and that was the buzzer. So, unfortunate. At Roger Clark 41, one positive, Justin Taylor. That's all I got. Absolutely. You heard Coach talk in the montage saying, hey, not for anything. We know he can shoot. It's just I think Coach is a little bit restricted in some of the things he likes to do because he's just doesn't like to get out of his comfort zone. And I think some of these earlier games the past couple of years have restricted him to be able to experiment as much as he normally would because of the talent level. And not only that, well, the talent level is there, but I should really say the level of experience. Let's say it like that, right? So
yeah.
Anyways, some from Facebook real quick. We'll do a couple of these, and then we'll move on to football. Let me check the green room real quick. All right. John, top fan on Facebook. It's a sad state on the hill right now. Bryant and Colgate at home. Why? Is it the talent or the coaching inexcusable? I think it's the inexperience, and I think it's these guys not having played together long. And I feel like I say that every year because college basketball lately is for everybody, but we feel it here in Syracuse more is the turnover has been just really bad with the transfer portal and just guys graduating or whatnot or leaving early, and you don't have that steady 2-3 years, where guys can work together and get acclimated. And I think that really goes against Syracuse because it's not a blue blood school, and they're not getting these guys that are going to come in and take over, 5-star guys all over the place. And it's just unfortunate when you look at North Carolina. I mean, they've been able to keep some extremely talented guys on their team, and they just lost against Iowa State. So,
yeah,
and
it's tough too. I mean, it's tough to decide on whether you're going to go one way or another. I mean, we're about to play an Illinois team who, they have a great transfer from Texas Tech, great transfer from Baylor to go along with a little bit of their, their youth. And I mean, the one thing with that is when you get these players that transfer is, what is their agenda? They already said that they were going to go to one team. Now they want to transfer to another team, most likely because of playing time, right? Or something usually is along those lines, unless you're a fifth year and you're doing something graduate-wise. But where are you going? You're going someplace else to, be the man or to get more minutes. And sometimes we don't need certain things like that. That's why we got a Hema, and I see him, and I've been pleasantly surprised with him because now it tells me that if Jesse leaves this year, we got at least a legitimate center that can play defense in the middle of that 2-3 zone, and then we can build with all the guys around us. I think that Chris Bell's proven he can score. Judah Mintz has proven he can score. Justin Taylor's proven that he can score. It's just where do they all fit in with all the other guards, and then obviously with Joe. That's really just how these new guys fit in with these older guys. Like Joe and Jesse were the only guys really with any type of experience. Now you're trying to get Benny with 6 freshmen and another transfer. It's tough, and that is the state of basketball. So a lot of it has to do with the players and what they're really coming in to do. Are they going to buy into the coaching? Are they going to be selfless and fit into the rotations that their coaches need them to? Or are they going to fall in line with possible bad habits from high school or the school that they came from, because they might not necessarily be getting the amount of minutes that they wanted.
Nadal makes a point here in the green room, says Torrance scored 1 more point than Joe in 16 less minutes and 6 less shots. So, I mean, if you want to dive into it a little bit, and that's kind of my point, like, I know that he wasn't lighting it up out there when he was out there against Bryant, but I mean, what do you got to lose? There's nothing to lose. So, and that's what I mean about getting in these tough games and just going with what's comfortable. Like, just waiting and waiting and waiting. Is Joe going to is he going to start hitting a couple late? Is he going to, you know what I'm saying?
Well, so there's partly that, but also there's the defensive part too. Samir Torrance comes in, and guess what? They're automatically sagging, and they're going to clog the middle, which takes away from Jesse. At least Joe has to keep him honest because, again, as many times as he's going to shoot, right?
Yeah.
He's still going to be a decoy. You're still going to have to guard him on the three-point line because if you lead him wide open and he hits it, then your coach is going to look at you like you're crazy.
It's going to be like, dude, you knew that was coming. So
Right, and that's the problem is when Samir gets in there, that has been the problem. That was a problem last year. And on defense, when they're playing man, they're just going to sag down. They're going to help, and they're going to dare him to shoot threes. And he shot 2 threes. He went 3 for 6. 2 of his 3 misses were threes that basically the other team baited him into because it was wide open. But that's not the shot that Boeheim wants, and I think that's ultimately why he came out. I think that on top of your fact that you said, like, the fact that Joe can be 1 for 8 and then all of a sudden just flip a switch and just go off and hit 3 threes in a row, we've seen it over and over again. And when you're down 10-plus points to a Bryant and you're missing Judah Mintz, then that type of player, I don't think, especially considering he's one of your, experienced people, most experienced people that have dealt with coming back in games like this, I feel like that's why he was on the court.
Yeah.
It's easy to just look at the points, right? But you have to understand that it affects other parts too. So putting in Samir Torrance immediately just affects how we can attack in the middle and how we can get the ball to Jesse.
I understand that. Yeah. I mean, it's a good point. It's just when you take the 30,000-foot view and you just say, hey, man, I mean, it's worth a shot. I mean, how many minutes did Torrance get? 20. He got 20. It's not terrible.
It wasn't like he didn't play, no. But at the end of the day, Taylor started hitting so much that they couldn't take him out of the game that they put him in and he was at the top of the zone.
Right. Okay, let's do a couple more real quick. Top fan Zach on Facebook. Except that it's a season with low expectations, I just want to see young guys grow per game. Gerard is killing us with the bad decisions. I'm not a Gerard hater, but we are losing close games. Eventually, they will start to figure it out. I mean, we could only hope. Top fan Bryant on Facebook. Same as always after a loss, Jim Boeheim needs to go. Taylor doesn't play 1 minute versus St. John's, and he looked like the best player on the court today. No excuse for that, and he doesn't ever go to the players to see. He doesn't ever go to players to see what they are ever. Yeah, talking about. Well, like I said, I just think it's been close contests. It's not an experiment time. I mean, it's just different the past couple of years, and there's a number of reasons.
Well, I mean,
why
when you're playing against Richmond and St. John's, you're trying to get W's. I mean, you're trying to win every game, right?
Yeah.
But against there's certain teams that you think you can move, you can mess with your lineup a little bit more than others, and obviously you have to change as it goes.
All right, let's switch gears to football here. We are gonna cruise through these not as quick as we can, but going to cruise through them efficiently. Let's put it that way. Matt Sherman at Matt Sherman 52 on Twitter. Back in the win column, first half was as upset as Joe looking at his last beer in the cooler. Yes. Man, what a great game. Let's go bowling. So, yeah, look, we finished 7-5. First of all, Joe never has one beer left in the cooler. He's a prepared person, and he's never left with one beer. If he does, he does it right, that's for sure. Hey, look, even if it's a cider, it still counts, right? Okay. No one can see you shake your head. Yeah, it still counts.
Okay.
Yeah, for a few weeks from now, we're gonna a couple weeks from now, or fairly soon, we'll get to know who we're playing, and it'll be fun. I think to get one more game in, a big deal for us, and see
Pinstripe Bowl.
Yeah, right. What's the other one everybody's clamoring about?
Oh, I have no idea. Well, the thing is that it's going to be interesting to see where we fall because if you look statistically by the, what's hilarious is that last night, if we would have lost to Boston College, then we would have finished last place in our division, in our conference. And because we beat them, we actually finished third.
Yeah,
so we finished ahead of Louisville, NC State, and Wake Forest. And we're only behind Florida State and Clemson in our division. And really, when you look at it, I think that makes us sixth overall in the ACC. But when it comes to bowl games, sometimes they look past that. And Wake Forest and NC State and them, they have good records. So I don't know where we're gonna go. I was looking maybe Duke's Mayo Bowl. I don't know. That's one I'd like because it's in Charlotte, but I doubt we'll get it. So we'll see.
At OD315, great comeback in a really physical, emotional rivalry game. The season unfolded almost exactly as most predicted it would, yet majority still don't seem very pleased. 7 wins is an acceptable improvement in my eyes. Yeah, well, from 5-7 to 7-5.
I think it's over. I think it's more than what people thought.
Well, I would say so too. There was the other thing. I think the expectations were actually pretty low. I mean, I think that we had higher expectations than most, and I'd have to go back and revisit because we always ask the fans and for football season what they expect and what they predict the season is going to be like, and I don't think they were predicting 7-5. A lot of them, I know some of them obviously were, but as far as the experts too, which is why we don't listen to the experts here at the Cuse Militia, they stink. The experts stink. They do. That was at Cuse Waterboy. That was a penultimate ugly W. Really glad we snapped the losing streak, headed into a bowl game. Can't wait to hear how ESM Sean pronounces penultimate on the podcast. How about that? How was that? Was that good enough for you? But yes,
Did good.
Thank you.
Did good.
Look, I'll take ugly W's. All right, when you talk about ugly wins, it is what it is. I do want to see a fire under the belly of these guys. Oh, what you're looking at the green room, right? Oh, yeah. Here we go. Okay. The Gasparilla Bowl was the one I was thinking of. The thing is you want to see some, you want to see some kind of fire under this Syracuse team in this bowl game. Talking about, they've said it themselves a number of times. Well, we got to start faster. Well, then start faster.
Yeah.
I mean, do it. Okay.
Yeah.
You're in the driver's seat. Do it.
Right. And I think that some of that has to do with the, obviously the play calling, but, I don't know. It's tough to say one way or another because they started fast last week against Wake Forest in similar weather conditions, right?
Right.
And then they
Very
slowed down.
Similar. And they slowed down in the second half. But that was Garrett Schrader's point. Like, we got to come out in the second half on fire. And they didn't do that this game. They did do that this game, but they didn't do it in the first half.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see who we get matched up with, to break down, the other team and see how we're going to match up with them. But I do think that our offense is going to be more fresh. I think that you can see more receivers getting involved, LaQuint Allen getting involved. Schrader, he's looking healthier and healthier. No doubt in my mind that we're going to see close to 100% Schrader when it comes to the bowl game. And maybe even Tucker, who seems like he's been banged up. I mean, all these guys are going to get a chance. And plus, they're going to get extra practices with a lot of players that are coming back next year. So they're going to get a lot of extra practices. They're going to get an extra game. And as far as the defense goes, the defense has been next man up. I mean, Anwar Sparrow yesterday, the way that he's been playing, the way that we've been doing next man up, it's just been amazing. And to your point too, because I know that you brought it up earlier in the show, because the question was, do we see Michael Jones? I don't think that there is a doubt in my mind. I mean, unless he's got some.
Well, they haven't ruled him out for the year, so you have to assume, right?
They haven't ruled him out for the year, and the bottom line is that this guy came back for this reason.
Yeah.
So there's no way in hell that this guy is going to skip out of a bowl game for the reason that he came back to kind of, it's kind of a cherry on top to why he came back in his, Syracuse tenure and what he's done here. And there's no doubt in my mind that defense is going to be the mob defense through and through when it comes to the bowl game. Those guys are going to be hyped, and I can't wait to see where we end up, team we play, and how that game goes.
Yeah, absolutely. At our Files 90, just finally woke up and finished the job. The fan base wouldn't. Oh, this is a great point. This fan base would have signed up for a 7-5 and a third place Atlantic finish in a heartbeat this year, but the way we got there will leave a very weird taste in our mouths and issues still on the table. But for now, on to the bowl. Now, look, if they had done this differently, like they didn't win the first 6 and lose the next 5, right? If it was a little bit more inconsistent, so to speak, like they win a couple, they lose one, they win, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I think that you are looking at a different type of attitude or outlook on the season. It's because they go 6-0, and then you're like, well, we're in the college football playoff talks. They were ranked, I think, 20th in there at one point, right? You beat Clemson, and all of a sudden, like, it's a legit thing. And well, we didn't, and then we went on to lose 4 more. So, yeah, just the way at the end of the day, the record is the record. I think, like he says, like Ryan says on Twitter, you would sign up for a 7-5 third place Atlantic finish probably every year. I mean, would you not? I mean, I would be fine with that. Make your point one more time, Joe, about Doug Marrone.
No, the fact that I mean, he was 500 over. He was 500 over 4 years. I think he made 2 bowl games. They had Nassib. They had some good players and stuff like that. But he was 500 over 4 years, and he got an NFL coaching job. So a 7-5, I think a 7-5 year with a pinstripe bowl against West Virginia win to go 8-5. I think that was what got him An NFL coaching job.
The Buffalo
altogether.
Bills coaching job.
Yeah. And as far as football goes, what do they always say? They say you are what your record are. And I don't ever hear them say it matters how you got there. I mean, we're 7-5. If you would have signed up for it in the beginning of the season, then what does it matter how you get there? Other than, your expectations change because all of a sudden you think we got a shot.
I mean, I do get it. It's a different feel. But if you put it into perspective, at the end of the day, we're only looking for...
But we've been there.
I know.
We've been there. We've been there. We beat Clemson. I mean, we got up there in a couple of those seasons with Dungy, and then he got hurt, and he wasn't the same player, and we ended up 5-7 that year. So,
yeah.
What do you do?
At Cuse, down 17-6 in the fourth quarter, and we still won. Big win. I was worried. BC wasn't a very good team outside of Zay Flowers. The defense still can't stop the run too well. Going to need to fix that. The third down roughing the passer call changed the outcome of the game for us. Now, he says bad call. I don't know if it was a bad call. I thought it was the legit roughing the passer call, the one on Schrader. Don't you think?
It was hands to the face, and you hit the...
he came high with it,
the quarterback
too.
in the face.
Yeah. So, I mean, hey, dude, even if it is a bad call,
Can't
Cap.
hit the quarterback in a helmet.
Yeah, but even if it is a bad call, Cap, let's say it was. You know what? We got to win some of those once in a while anyway.
We'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, like I said, I would have been happy if they held them under 100. They held them to 89. I'm fine with that. It's not electric, but for who Boston College is, that's not electric to me. But it's under 100, and I'll take it. Tucker running for 6 yards of carry, and Garwo for 3.3 or something like that. I'll take it. So with that said, that's all I got. So look, that's going to wrap it up for us. Hey, I appreciate all you guys in the green room. We are not live right now. Going to go back to YouTube. Facebook, for whatever reason, thankfully, it works when I try to stream games, but I do not know if it's a setting thing or what, but what I'll probably do is go back to YouTube, stream there, and post the link to Facebook and see if that helps.
Yep.
I thought Facebook Live would be a huge opportunity for us, but that's not going to happen because I can't figure it out. So that is what it is. But
call IT.
Call IT. Ring, ring.
Oh, that's you.
Yeah. So that's going to wrap it up for us. We appreciate all of you, especially all of you in the green room. Zach, Matt, David. I think Zach was in there. I think, Nadal, Anthony. There's a couple more in there. I forget. Dom was in there. Appreciate all of you. We will see you Wednesday. Go Cuse against Illinois. We'll see what happens. For Joe, I'm Sean. We're out.
Peace.